Hi, folks, and welcome to the webinar. Firstly, I'm going to ask Thomas to introduce himself. Welcome, Thomas. Great to be on here with you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, I'm with Microsoft. I'm a senior director. I actually focus on partner business, and I work with both software development companies as well as services companies in building agents and agentic system these days. And been with Microsoft a little over, actually, nearing 25 years.
Thanks, Thomas. And I'm Paul McDonald. I'm a data solution consultant at DataArt, working in our horizontal, which is data and analytics area. And I also wear a secondary hat where I'm a subject matter expert in our media vertical. So that's me. And like Thomas, spend a lot of time helping businesses achieve optimal performance through data and AI. Okay, so let's get started with the presentation then. So what we're talking about today is conversational intelligence in Microsoft Fabric. As we're fully aware, the world is moving away from dashboards, etc., into more natural language querying of information. So with that in mind, we've put together this webinar and a short demo on how Microsoft Fabric is providing the capability to take what is ostensibly a small set of proof of concepts and make them scalable and enterprise ready. So with that in mind, one of the things that everybody will be aware of is AI fatigue is very real at the moment. We've passed the hype cycle of AI and everybody being excited about it, and we're now getting into the trough of despair in this space. And the reason for that is because most people, when we're looking at the statistics, around 70 to 90% of proof of concepts in AI fail. And the reason that they fail is for a number of reasons. Okay, the fundamental one being around governance or clear AI value propositions. So I think we've all been there where we've been asked, I need something for AI, something AI to take to the board. The reality that's not how it works, and I think businesses are tired of hearing that. So what we're here to do is to show you how we take something that is a POC but make it ready for enterprise from the start, and that improves your odds of success significantly. If I talk about that AI fatigue, one of the things that we are seeing, so if you look at there's an AI for that, there's probably around 30 AI products being released every single day into that environment. And if you take the statistics that I've just spoken about, 70 to 90% of failure rate, that means on a daily basis, around 100 to 300 proof of concepts are being worked on every single day. What we want to do is increase the success rate of that AI, because we truly believe that AI will improve things for businesses going into the future. So when we talk about that, why are things like conversational intelligence fail at scale? The main reason is you've got data fragmentation. So the insights that are produced across disconnected systems, and they result in partial or misaligned answers. There's the other thing is semantic inconsistency. If you're not using the same language, and I've seen this for myself, where people have used the term cost, and that term is meaning different things to different people, because you can have a retail cost, you can have a wholesale cost, etc., etc. If you bring that all together, then whatever you get is complete gobbledygook. And then the other reason that these things fail is there's a complete lack of governance. Okay, now governance is becoming a mandatory need when you get to AI. One of the biggest issues that you see is if if the risk increases with AI of information being incorrect if it's not governed properly. And then the final piece of the puzzle as to why these things fail is because there's no path to scale. Okay, so your little proof of concept works really well in a little isolated environment. The moment you start to scale, things start to fall apart. So what we're trying to do here is give you the foundational pieces on how you make that work properly going forward. So let's talk about conversational intelligence, because like I said, people are moving away from dashboards. They don't want to click around. They just want to ask the specific question of their data and get a specific answer. It speeds up time to decision massively if we can do that. So the key here, conversational intelligence is a multiplier. It's not a feature. So when we talk about conversational intelligence, it's not a UI layer or a co-pilot button added on top of the data. Okay, it changes how your businesses interact and with existing intelligence, not how intelligence is created. And it amplifies the quality of the underlying data, semantics and governance. So if you've got bad data, it just amplifies how bad it is. Okay, so it's for better or worse. And the multiplier effect applies to agent-based systems as well. Agents are becoming the bread and butter of conversational intelligence going forward. So what we need here is really strong foundations that enable value. Okay, if you've got weak foundations, you're just going to multiply confusion and risk on there. So if we look at the end, so what we're going to do now is start to talk about the enterprise reality. So Thomas, do you want to talk to us about why governance is not negotiable anymore?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Yeah, I think you kind of summarized many of the elements as well. For enterprises, governance becomes very critical. It's mission critical, I would say, especially for AI-enabled solutions. And these days, building agents and agentic systems, and as they rely on LLMs, they are non-deterministic, and so it makes it critical to go on AI in general. The other aspect is what I've always mostly seen is that AI failures often are perhaps erroneously attributed to hallucination, but that framing misses the real issue. Hallucinations are governance failures, not just model failures, and they emerge when AI systems, as you mentioned as well, operate across fragmented data, inconsistent definitions, and also opaque lineage as well. I would say conversational intelligence changes how, from an end user's perspective, or business users or information users, they interact with data, shifting from dashboards to now dialoguing and reasoning over that data. Questions typically, tend to replace the reports as the primary interface these days. And it also, the time to insight also collapses. No waiting for, rolling out of net new dashboards and SQL queries to be built to support net new reportings or even analyst systems as well. So data becomes contextual, not just visual, meaning conversational AI can explain trends if it's built correctly, highlight the anomalies, and also provide narrative context as well. So trust becomes this new UX in a way. Natural language does not mean innately that there's natural trust. Users assume AI answers are authoritative and correct, even when they are not. And I've seen enough cases where there's always these boundary conditions where the answers are not quantitatively right. And so implicit trust is unacceptable. Data access, usage, and governance must be explicit and auditable. So I would categorize trust has to be dependent on data governance, definitely enforcement of security end-to-end. As you also mentioned, auditability and lineage of that data is also important. And finally, I would say fast answers are meaningless if they cannot be explained, especially in regulatory industries, right? They have to be defended, traced back to approved sources. This critically is important, especially in financial services that I'm aligned to. And so, at the end of the day, there's a confidence that is also built even at an executive layer, right? That AI decisions have to be made with sanctioned or curated data, agreed definitions, and clear enforcement of various, key enterprise policies. So, yeah, AI system responses has to be trusted and actionable. Data governance becomes absolutely critical, and they are mission critical.
Cool. And so then what do enterprises actually need in order to be able to make this happen?
Yeah, what they actually need is enterprises often tend to start with AI models these days for some reason, but what they actually need it starts much earlier with data and definitions. And so enterprise says they want natural language access to that governed data. And so in many cases, we end up copying that data into site systems and prompt pipelines. So before we embark on the actual building of agents and agentic systems, having a governed data foundation before any AI layers are built is absolutely critical. Having that curated, trusted, great data platforms, not just raw lakes where the data is spread across. And also having clear ownership and quality SLAs are important as well. And also the lifecycle management of data becomes important. Data also needs to be classified, and labeled in terms of sensitivities. PII data or CUI or classified, maybe there are general public data as well. So we need to classify the data alongside as well. And so conversational AI is only as good as the data it's allowed to see. One of the key elements, I think you mentioned it, was the semantic layer that encodes business meaning. Having to standardize definitions for metrics, KPI, and entities is critical. For example, if I'm referring to revenue, what does that mean across business units and across other players as well? So the entities and their versions will have to be, that semantic layer has to be standardized, reusable across not just business intelligence, but in AI and agentic systems as well. And the third area is pretty much of our time is spent on when building these systems is the observability and auditability by design. So having that full traceability. When a user poses a question, as it traverses through various application layers and get to the data and it responds, we need a full set of logs to understand, is that an acceptable answer? And so logs for compliance definitely is needed, along with risk and also for incident reporting as well. So again, to underscore that explainability for why such an answer was given by the system and to cross-compare and doing the evaluation is absolutely critical. So yeah, that is what the enterprises truly need at a very high level.
Okay. And then do you want to explain to us how Microsoft Fabric as a control plane can be used as a control plane for enterprise intelligence?
So when we talk about control plane, it's not just about storing and processing data, right? We need a platform that governs and secures, as I mentioned, standardizes and also operationalizes how intelligence is actually created, accessed, and trusted across that enterprise. And so Microsoft Fabric plays a key role in this. It actually unifies data from various sources and creates that semantic layer and governance, and also enables AI interaction all under this one managed experience. One of the key underpinning layers is OneLake within Microsoft Fabric, which actually is that unified logical data lake that is designed to be that single data foundation for all analytics and AI workloads within the enterprise. What that does is it actually eliminates data sprawl and duplications and even shadow copies that we see in companies. And all analytics and AI workloads has to operate over that govern data. From a control plane standpoint, OneLake then provides that single logical data plane for central visibility and also for policy enforcement across all enterprise data. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, there's a shared governed semantic that transcends various business units, and so that semantic model actually becomes like an intelligence contract. And Microsoft Fabric specifically offers that semantic model and a layer that defines those business entities, metrics, and KPI, and also relationships and hierarchies as well. And this is just in many of the recent projects, the criticality of having that semantic layer is more and more becoming visible to us. And so, especially when AI systems tend to not just reason over and retrieve information, but also act on the data as well. So, so intelligence is getting standardized in a way and can be reused everywhere. That is one of the key value propositions we are inching towards within Microsoft Fabric. And finally, security and enterprise governance is embedded within Fabric innately. It's not bolted on. It is enforced by default, Entra ID authentication, and access path. There is role-level security, for example, object-level security, and so all that RBAC enforcement is absolutely critical. So there's no separation of AI access layer that that could potentially bypass these controls. So at the end of the day, I think what we have built is an amazingly solid platform that allows enterprises to actually explain what data was used, why was it used, and under which policy. And so Fabric is that layer that generates that intelligence, and that makes it, the solutions that's built on it, trustworthy, consistent, as well as being accountable.
Cool. Thanks, Thomas. So with that in mind, folks, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and show you a demo. Full disclosure, we didn't trust the demo gods, so we've done a recording here for us to sort of show exactly what we built. So I'll walk us through this recording of the demo that we put together, just so that people are aware. This is not a feature walkthrough, so we're not showing you the features of Fabric IQ, etc. It's not a co-pilot showcase. What we're demonstrating is how conversational intelligence operates in an enterprise environment, and where decisions must be trusted and traceable, and aligned to elements that the business knows, so the trusted KPIs and that. So again, what we're doing is we're using a standardized retail model in Microsoft Fabric. That's intentional because it represents business domains that everybody can understand. So things like revenue, margin, region, temporal elements. So the goal here is not really to impress you with the complexity. It's to focus on governance and semantics and how the decision information consistency is driven through that. Everything you're going to see here is powered by Fabric IQ, and specifically it's using Power BI semantic models and Fabric data agents working on top of governed definitions. So that means we're not asking AI to interpret the data. We are interacting with the intelligence built on a controlled semantic foundation and set of knowledge graphs. Okay, so if we look at what's on screen right now, what you're going to see is a trusted executive dashboard, and this is generally how things happen when it comes to conversational intelligence. People will take stuff that's already out there, and they'll just make it easier to access. And that's what we're doing. So when you look here at this, what we've got is the standard things that we talk about. So the profitability, the margin, etc. And then what we do is we take that, we push that into the semantic model. And this is where the sort of magic begins to happen, because this is where you can drive consistency, stop hallucinations, and ensure that the detail coming out of your conversational intelligence or natural language query is going to map to trusted KPIs within the business. So if you look here, what we've got is the standard things of revenue, profit, margin. They're defined once in the semantic model and reused everywhere. The business meaning is explicit and not implicit when we look at this. So if we look at these things, this is exactly what we're seeing here now. Okay, so this is the semantic model that underpins the natural language that we're going to start querying against. And with that in mind, what we're seeing is, Fabric IQ becomes critical and in this space because it's leveraging that semantic model and control foundation for the conversational intelligence. It ensures that the dashboard queries use the same governed definitions, and there's going to be no anomalies between trusted information and what the AI agent produces. So what we're going to do is, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start asking some simple questions of the data that we've seen. So you guys have already seen the dashboard that this is based off, that is known and loved by the business. But people, again, they don't want to be clicking around to get, okay, so can you tell me who was the top salesman for the last quarter? If I can just ask that question, I don't have to put filters. I don't have to deal with anything. I can literally just ask the question. So this is effectively what we're going to do now. So when we're looking at this, what we're going to bring up is, so before we get to that, what we do is we need to give some instructions to AI. Okay, so what you're seeing up on screen now is those set of instructions that tell the agent how to work. So as you can see what the role objective is. You can see the response constraints that are being put in, the KPI definitions. Okay, so that when people are using synonyms, the agent is aware that those are synonyms that are being used. So this is just showing you how the agent is being advised on how to interpret the information that's being presented to it in the query. So what we then do is we now want to run a query. So obviously we push it against the semantic model that we've already built. Okay, and we ask the query, which in this case, is the simple query. So what is the total revenue for the last quarter? Okay, and what you see there is the 11.41 billion. And if you look, that matches to the 11.41 billion in the trusted data set. Okay, so we're showing that things are not being interpreted, and they're completely aligned to a trusted data set. We can go a step further and we can start to create verified natural language queries that can be used as a basis to query the information going forward. So here we've got several queries that have been common queries that we'd be asking of this data, and if we go through, we can choose one of them and look at the information that's presented against that query. So as we can see, we've asked it, this question about we've asked it the question. So what is it? total revenue for the last quarter, and that gave us the 11.4 billion. Now we're asking it, what is our looking at the verified answers, we're now asking it to show me the monthly sales in the demo here. So this is the verified query that we've just run. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sort of show how using a set of verified queries, we can ask it similar questions, not using the same language and whatever. It will then start to look at and interpret that information, check it against the verified queries first, and then run to present the information that is fully governed, fully trusted, to give you the information that's needed. Okay, so within that presentation, what we can then do. So what we've got is the monthly sales trends by last quarter. So show me the monthly sales trends by last quarter. It's different to the question that was asked. Okay, and sorry guys, the reason I'm sort of struggling here is because my screen is very, very small at the moment. And my eyes are not very good, so I'm just leaning in to read the actual questions that are coming up. So if we look at this, it's match. So the question was, show me the monthly sales trends for the last quarter. That's matched against the verified question. Plot the monthly sales trend for the last completed quarter. Okay, and so we're getting the verified answers back. The next one that we've got coming up is asking what states contributed to the most total revenue last quarter. Again, it's picked up a verified query and it's showing us exactly which states contributed the most revenue for the last quarter. Again, completely verified and trusted because it's using the same KPIs, same governance layer, and same semantic language underneath the hood. Okay, so we can then ask a few more questions. Again, so which states had the lowest revenue growth for the last quarter? And here we'll see that it's asking a clarification question. One of the things that we should be aware of is when your conversational intelligence asks many clarification questions, it means that your semantic layer is suboptimal, and your knowledge graph is suboptimal. So you need to rectify that. What you want to do is get it to a point where it's answering without having to ask clarifying questions. So here, please show it by percentage. Here we go. So it's showing you which states have the biggest sort of drop in percent in revenue. So if we then ask it we can then go ahead and ask it the next question. Okay, and here you'll see it doesn't need to clarify. It goes directly, and the reason for that is we as a human being have learned that we're going to ask it in dollars because rather than percentage. So then it's going to give us exactly what we need. And here we can see that Massachusetts is having some severe problems. So as we go through, this is, again, just to reiterate, that this is coming against verified data every single time. And so if we look at what is the profit margin by state for the last quarter, we can get that information presented to us. Again, without having to click or anything, we can literally just ask it the question for the specific information that we're looking for. And then finally, the last sort of question that we're going to ask it is to sort of show us that information by, we want to summarize all the information by quarter for the existing KPIs. Okay. And if we look, these are the existing KPIs. If we went back to the dashboard, you'd see that those KPIs are fully aligned. And again, this is all driven because AI is constrained from going off and doing its own thing, and it's effectively those constraints are ensuring that we are getting the right information. So effectively, what does the foundation enable? The agents are not making autonomous decisions anymore. Okay, they're extensions of the conversational intelligence, which means they're operating in the same governed semantic layer. They're reusing the same business definitions, controlled access model, and without that foundation, what they'll do is they'll actually amplify risk and anomalies. Okay, with it, they're going to amplify value because you can get to the answers very quickly just using natural language. So this is how enterprises move from isolated AI experiments to scalable, trusted intelligence. And to finish the main point of the webinar, is why governance is no longer a constraint. It is an enabler of AI enterprise at scale. So that ends the demo. So if we can go back to the presentation. Cool. So bottom line, the takeaways that we have here are, data modeling and semantic design is critical in getting this right. You saw as we were going through the demo where it needed to ask some clarification questions, and again, that all of that means we need a feedback loop to improve how AI interprets the data. All of that feedback can be placed in the agent under the sort of definition and the constraint elements, which will then ensure that your answers are becoming more and more accurate. And if you notice anomalies, there is a way to fix that by having that feedback mechanism back into the agent team, or the agent himself if you're building it yourself. So governance and access strategy defines who can ask what against which data. So realistically, if you get this right, if you're using, say, Purview to manage some of the constraints about what people can see and what people can't see, that will automatically flow through and is part of the governance paradigm that we're talking about here. And then the operating model that clarifies ownership and accountability and has a continuous improvement. So that's where we're talking again about the feedback loop that we were just discussing. So, shall we see if we have any questions? Or Thomas, what I'll do before we hand over to questions, is there anything else that you want to add before we sort of move to the questions side?
I think you covered it very well. I really like the demo, Paul. Accentuates a lot of the capabilities that are enabled through Fabric. And one in particular that I really liked is your mentioning of the Fabric IQ, which is a fairly new workload within Microsoft Fabric that was announced at Ignite. The other aspect I also wanted to share is that agents, the number of agents and agentic systems that are being built is on an exponential increase. There's projections that over 1 billion in some projections agents are being built, and many of these agents are not just now beginning just reasoning over, but also making decisions and sometimes even taking action. So I just wanted to share that this both amplifies the value of building these agents as well as the risk that is innate part of this equation. And so building that, again, as you had repeatedly emphasized, is that having that right foundation is absolutely critical. And the demo highlights Fabric IQ, where we're actually moving Fabric from a unified analytics system intentionally to a unified intelligence layer. And underneath, again, just to kind of reiterate, are the ontologies, the semantic models, the graph of knowledge graphs, data agents that allow us to do natural language interactions with SQL, DAX, etc., and also the operational agents as well that are policy governed and reasoning over the data too. So it's a very fast moving space, and so I think the underlying foundation is the very first layer below the iceberg, as we often call it, that needs to be nailed down with right compliance, security, and all the enterprise level grades to safely scale and to accurately, to your point, answer all the questions that users are looking for.
Cool. Thanks, Thomas. So we have one question from the audience. Can you say top 3 only or bottom 3 only? The answer to that is yes. I know we sort of raced through the demo, but if you look at when we're putting together the details for the AI instructions for the data agent, what it says, if no figures given, then give the top 5. Okay, so that's or top 10. It'll default to that, but you can absolutely tell it, give me the top 3, only. Okay, and it'll carry out those instructions. There any other questions? Just looking through the comments. So we showed the demo, and again, even with our concern about the demo guides and the recording, it didn't factor in my bad eyesight. So apologies for that while I was struggling to actually read some of the stuff on the screen here. If there's no other questions, then I think we can call that a wrap. And thank you to those who attended. Look forward to seeing you on our next one. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Vax. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I've just been reminded. If you want to see a little bit more, what we've done is if you scan this QR code, we've built a podcast that based on the information that you've just seen, using an agent. So within that, what we've done. Let me just see here. So we've leveraged an agent to generate the audio podcast summarizing key business KPIs derived from our live demo environment. So if you want to scan that and go and listen to the podcast, you'll see how the agent was used to develop that podcast. Okay. Thanks a million, folks, and see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.